Welcome again to the Purposes of God. I am your host, Doug Krieger of the Tribulation Network. This is video number 23 in our special 29-part series on the purposes of God and the peculiar prophetic studies with regards to so many of these divine measurements that we've been discussing. Again, this is video number 23 in the series. Again, this is video number 23 of the Purposes of God. This commences a four-part study of the millenarian fourth temple as found in Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48. Ezekiel's temple description is given in Ezekiel chapters 40 through 48. God is the one who designed both Solomon's and Ezekiel's temples. You cannot understand either one without understanding each one. That is, comprehending Ezekiel's, you comprehend Solomon's, and eventually their fullness in the measurements of the New Jerusalem. In the Gemara, it names 3 Jewish cubits of 5, 6, and 7 palms. And as Oppert shows in his research, 25.2 inches was reckoned as 7 palms, or 25.2 inches. 21.6 being 6 palms, that is, 3.6 inches per palm or royal cubit, adapted by the Jews during their Babylonian captivity. Herein is the discretion between 2,160 and 2,520. We may reasonably apply this scale to the Gemara list and read it as 18, 21.6, and 25.2 inches. Therefore, Ezekiel's millenarian temple will be 252 feet high, or 120 cubits times 25.20 inches will equal 3,024 inches, divided by 12 inches will give us 252 feet. That is about the height of a 25 modern story building. This research is provided by the Encyclopedia Britannica, volume 28, page 484. Ezekiel's cubit, we believe, was based on the sacred cubit of 25.20 inches. The measuring rod, 6 cubits long, each being a cubit, that is, 21.6 inches total, would equal to a royal cubit. But it included a handbreadth, that is, an additional 3.6 inches, totaling 25.2 inches, which would equal our sacred cubit, not the royal cubit. That is, when you total 7 times 3.6 inches, it will equal 25.2 inches, or the measurement of the sacred cubit. Ezekiel chapter 40, verse 5. In examining the various lengths of cubits mentioned, notice that they all fit closely into the basis of the palm of a hand, or handbreadth of 3.6 inches. Most of us can measure our handbreadth from the base of the middle finger to the wrist. In most adults, is about 3.6 inches. And 36, that is very significant in that it is the 36 of a circle, 360 degrees, or 360 days in a prophetic year. 3 palms would equal to 10.8 inches, 4 palms to 14.4 inches, 5 palms to 18 inches, 6 palms, that is the royal cubit, of 21.6 inches, and the 7 palms, or the sacred cubit measure, of 25.2 inches. This should make it evident that the Bible cubit and the former Jewish cubits were based on the palm of a man's hand instead of the forearm. With that in mind, notice that the original cubit was 7 palms. That is the number of completeness. Judah went into captivity and adopted the Babylonian cubit of 6, the number of a man, if you would, palms. That is a natural thing to do. Man has always spurned the ways that God has given and turned into the ways of man instead. These pages are from God's Temple in Prophecy by L. Leroy Neff, March 1961, and revised in 1986 and 2005, and are duly noted in our research on Ezekiel's temple. However, our numerological conclusions are our own in most cases. Here we have a diagram of Ezekiel's temple, courts, walls, and gates. Ezekiel's temple had 6 gates. You see them on the north gate and the south gate, and of course the east gate. You see them around the inner court, 3 of them. And then the large portico of 120 cubits would be in the area of the vestibule. Each of the 6 gates plus the porch vestibule area is equal to 7. 6 plus 1 equals 7. There were in each of the gates 6 alcoves and a gate portico, which would equal to 7 as well. If you take these 7s and multiply them together, they will equal 49. That 49 is a very significant number with regards to Bible prophecy. Here we have another diagram very clearly laid out of all measurements in cubits. Again, the cubit equaling 25.20 inches. The height here is not specified. These are taken from Ezekiel chapter 40, 47 through 49 and 41 verses 1 through 4, the dimensions of the inner court, the vestibule, the porch area, and sanctuary, including the most holy place. The most holy place is 20 by 20 cubits. The sanctuary is 40 by 20 cubits. All of these areas and these separate divisions, for example, going into the sanctuary, 6 by 6 on either side. And then going into the Holy of Holies, 7 by 7 on either side, and as you enter in, it is 2 by 2, 2 by 2 on the doorposts, whereas the entryway itself is a 6 by 7 area. These are all very significant, and we're going to get into them momentarily. The presence of the Almighty, the Ark of the Covenant, and entering into the sanctuary itself. Ezekiel's vestibule or porch area that goes 120 cubits up, or 252 feet, brings us into the presence of the Almighty. The doorposts are 3 cubits by 5 cubits. That is 15, and there's 2 of them, times 2 will equal 30 cubits, which happens to be the measure of the Ark of the Covenant and mercy seat combined. And the entry itself is 3 by 10, also 30 squared cubits, Ezekiel 40 and verse 48. The vestibule itself brings us to 300 by squaring the area. That is 11 times 20 equals 220, plus 3 times 10 equals 30, plus 5 times 10 equals 50. Total squared is 300 square cubits. Ezekiel 40 verses 48 through 49 and chapter 41 verse 2, with 30 as a fractal of 300. Very significant, 30, in that 30 is the total number of cubits in the mercy seat and the Ark of the Covenant. The entry, therefore, is significant in that it brings us right into the presence of God. That is the intent of its measurements. We're going to be considering the number 12, 120, 1200, and the sanctuary of Ezekiel's temple, and its comparisons to the New Jerusalem and the prime number within the New Jerusalem of 144. This is part 1 within this series. Now, as you look at the most holy place, that's to your right there, you will see that it is 20 cubits by 20 cubits. That is the measurement of the most holy place found in Ezekiel 41:4. Or all 4 of its sides within the holiest of all, the most holy place would be 20 cubits times 4, or 80 linear cubits, or 20 by 20 to determine its area would equal 400 square cubits within the most holy place. Now, looking at the sanctuary, it is 40 cubits long and 20 cubits wide, or 60 linear cubits times 2 would give us 120 linear cubits of the entire linear area of the sanctuary. Or, getting its area, it would be 40 cubits by 20 cubits. Including this, it would equal 800 square cubits. Ezekiel chapter 41, verse 2. Now, taking the linear measurements of the most holy place of 80 and the sanctuary of 120, the holy place, would equal 200 linear cubits times the sacred cubit of 25.20 inches would equal 5,040. Divided by 2 would equal 2520, or a fractal 2520, the sacred cubit measurement in inches. Now, the full sanctuary and the open square area of 400 square cubits of the most holy place and the 800 square cubits of the sanctuary, or the holy place, are equal to 1,200 square cubits, or squared, that is multiplied by itself, would be 1,200 times 1,200, which would equal 1,440,000, or 144 its fractal, which is the prime number of the New Jerusalem. The doorpost area entering into the sanctuary is across 20 cubits, which is the width of the sanctuary, times 6 cubits, which is the doorpost itself, which would include 6 by 6 twice and 8 by 6. Anyway, together, 20 times 6 equals 120 square cubits. This is found in Ezekiel 41, verse 1. Now we take that number, 120, and multiply it by itself, 120, and it will equal 14,400, or again, the prime number of the New Jerusalem, 144. Note, 2 sets of 144, or 2 sets of 12. 12 times 12 equals 144. This is the measurement of the wall of the New Jerusalem. Israel and the church in the New Jerusalem. This is the purpose of God. This is the prophetical statement of Ezekiel's temple. The tabernacle of God is with men. Revelation 21, verse 3. Again, the number 12, 120, 1200, and the sanctuary, the New Jerusalem, part 2. In entering through the open and doorpost into the most holy place, a most amazing thing takes place. If you can see the 7 squared, that is 7 times 7, 2 each on either side going into the most holy place. The entry wall areas, if you would, into the most holy place, it will equal, that is 7 squared, 49, and 49 on the other side, plus one area where you could actually enter in is 6 by 7, the entry of 42. 49 plus 49 plus 42 is equal to 140 square cubits. Now, with this 144 square cubits, when you enter into the most holy place, you can turn to the left or turn to the right with your 140 square cubits. You must add, however, in entering in the doorposts, which are 2 by 2 on either side of the entry into the most holy place. When you multiply 2 by 2, it will equal 4. When you add the 4 to the 140 square cubit doorpost area on either side, it would equal 140 plus 4 equals 144, and 140 plus 4 again equals 144. Is not this the intention of God, the very purpose of God, the 144, to bring us in to the very presence of God on either side, the 144,000 of the 12 tribes of Israel, Revelation chapter 7, and the 144,000 of the church, Revelation chapter 14, and eventually the 144, the measurement of the wall of the New Jerusalem, which has 12 gates, which are the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, and 12 foundations, which have the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And these two together multiplied, 12 times 12 will equal 144. Israel and the church brought into the most holy place, the New Jerusalem, the consummation of the ages. This, we affirm, is the ultimate purpose of the Almighty. $144 is equal to 441 and 49. How did we get that? 2520 sacred cubit, which attests nigh all these divine measurements, revealing the purposes of God, when squared, that is, 2520 inches times 25.20 inches, is equal to 635.04 square inches. If you divide that by 144, interestingly enough, you will get 441. 144, 441. This somewhat amazing calculation is not by chance. The 7 times 7 entries into the most holy place bring us face to face with the by my spirit phenomenon of Zechariah 4, 2 through 6. A lampstand with a bowl on top of it, and on the stand 7 lamps with 7 pipes to the 7 lamps. That is, 7 times 7 equals 49. So going into the most holy place in Ezekiel, you cannot help but realize the measurement of 7 by 7 equals 49, and the universal lampstand. The bowl is likened in Zechariah 4 to the very Ark of the Covenant, which is in the center of these 49, out from whom the 49 lamps with conduits, 7 each to 7 lamps, on the one 3-dimensional menorah are lighted. 20 years from the Edict of Cyrus in 536 BC, as found in Ezra chapter 1 verses 1 through 4 and 2 Chronicles 36, 22 through 23, to 516 BC. That is 20 to 21 years it took to rebuild the temple. Note, first the temple, then the wall. From his presence, out from his presence, to the lamps, or to the wall of Jerusalem, or the New Jerusalem. God works from the inside out. Also, there shall be 7 weeks unto the building of the wall, or 49 years. Daniel chapter 9, verse 25, and Nehemiah chapters 2 through 10 account for the building of the wall in its 49-year effort. Artaxerxes Longimanus decreed in 445 BC unto the covenant renewal celebration in Jerusalem in 396 BC, another 49 year. So you have the 49 conduits of the actual universal lampstand mentioned in Zechariah 4, the temple itself, and then the building of the wall in Daniel 9, an additional 49, 2 49s. The 7 churches of Revelation in chapters 1 through 3, and the Son of Man, the prophet, in their midst, repeats the imagery of the universal lampstand seen in Zechariah chapter 4, and the 2 sons of oil, that is, the kingship Zerubbabel and the priesthood Yeshua, on either side of the bowl, that is, the 2 olive trees. And the bowl in the midst signifies the prophethood, the illumination the source of all light, if you would, the true triple crown, the prophet in the midst, the bull, and the priest and the king upon Yeshua, Jesus, is altogether evident. He alone is worthy to bear the triple crown as prophet, priest, and king. God's purpose is to bring us into his presence by the power of the Holy Spirit, and not by our efforts, for it is not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts, Zechariah 4, to be his priests and kings before him, the prophet. There you have the universal lampstand of Zechariah chapter 4. As you will notice, there are 7 lamps that surround the bowl, and from the bowl there are 7 conduits to each lamp. 7 times 7 equals 49. And the golden oil from the olive trees on either side of the bowl are pouring their golden oil into the bowl atop. This is the 3-dimensional universal lampstand, a most significant illustration of the power of the Holy Spirit to do the work and not ourselves. On the left and on the right, Yeshua the high priest and Zerubbabel the governor, the 2 anointed ones, the 2 sons of oil, under the power of the Holy Spirit, will pour their golden oil into the bowl, and out from the bowl all the lamps will be eternally lit. Yes, the triple crown. This was placed not upon Zerubbabel the governor as a picture of the kingship, but this was placed upon Yeshua the high priest. He alone can bring us into the presence of God. But it is a triple crown. And in the book of Revelation, in the Apocalypse, it talks about the one who bears crowns. Crown him with many crowns, the Lord upon his throne. There are 3 crowns. That is, the prophet, the priest, and the king. He is our prophet, he is our priest, and he is our king. And in the midst of that triple crown, there is a signet of the very name of God, Yahweh. This is truly a picture of absolute prophetic significance. And on that day shall he be crowned, for it is not by might, nor by power, but by his Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts, our prophet, our priest, our king, bringing us into his very presence. This concludes the 23rd video presentation. We now move on to video number 24. Again, I am your host, narrator Doug Krieger. Thank you for viewing and listening. And now on to video number 24 in this special prophetic series on the purposes of God.